humanity. Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Welcome to Talking Politics. I am Robert Press. I'm a reporter, as you can see by my official New York City press card. I write for the Bronx Post and Parkchester Times. Both, like this show, are part of Parrot Media Corporation. I also contribute to the Co-op City News and have a blog at www.100%.blogspot.com, along with Facebook pages 100% and What is Going On in Your Community Board. The views expressed on this show are that of the host, any guest, or anyone who is commenting at the bottom of the screen, and not necessarily those of Parrot Media Corporation. Let's go to the weather report. It has gotten a little colder here today. The high will be up to 34, and tomorrow, Saturday, 37. Sunday, the high will break 40 at 44, and on Monday, we could see 50 degrees returning, and Tuesday, the rain will be coming back. Now, FBI Director Christopher Wray announced that he will resign at the end of the Biden administration, stepping down as the leader of the powerful law enforcement bureau before President-elect Donald Trump takes office and can fire him. Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis says that House Republicans should continue investigating Hunter Biden despite a parole from his father, the president. Congresswoman Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez is facing strong headwinds, including opposition from former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as Ocasio-Cortez tries to become the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee. William Boylan Jr., a former Brooklyn assemblyman whose influential family has been dubbed the Kennedys of Brownsville, was one of 1,583 people granted clemency by outgoing President Joe Biden. Senators from New York and New Jersey sent a letter to the FBI and Department of Homeland Security and the FAA demanding a briefing on the mysterious drones that are being seen in both states, prompting confusion and concern. Let's go to the Middle East for a moment now. Israel carried out a wave of heavy airstrikes across Syria as its troops advanced deeper into the country. Israel acknowledged pushing into a buffer zone inside Syria following the overthrow of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, but it remained unclear if Israeli soldiers have gone beyond that area, which was established more than 50 years ago. Israel has denied that it was advancing on the Syrian capital of Damascus. The Israeli military said that it has carried out 350 strikes in Syria on Tuesday, most hitting the strategic weapon stockpiles in the country to stop them from falling into the hands of the extremists. The targeted included air defense systems, military airfields, missile depots, and dozens of weapons production sites in Damascus and other cities. Israel missile ships also simultaneously struck 2 Syrian naval facilities where the military said 15 Syrian naval vessels were docked. Israel did not specify how many vessels were struck, but Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said Israel intended to establish a demilitarized zone in Syria. Speaking at a naval base in Haifa, Katz said the army will create a defense zone free of weapons and terrorist threats in southern Syria without a permanent Israeli presence in order to prevent terrorism in Syria from taking root. On to the shooting of the United Healthcare CEO, the sensational capture of a 26-year-old Ivy League graduate, Luigi Nicolas Mangoni, Monday in the fatal shooting of Brian Thompson, sparked by an eagle-eyed Altoona, Pennsylvania McDonald's worker who recognized him and called the cops, capping the day-long interstate manhunt. We should never underestimate the power of the public to be our eyes and our ears in these investigations, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch said at a press conference. He was caught with a 3D printed gun inside loaded Glock magazine, hollow point bullet, and manifest that said, "These parasites simply had it coming," law enforcement said. His motive is believed to be tied to a behemoth United Healthcare industry treatment of a sick relative or even himself. Sources said he was sitting there eating. NYPD Chief of Detectives Joe Kenny told reporters that he was wearing a blue medical mask and a beanie and staring at his silver laptop on a table with a backpack on the floor next to him. Officers asked him to take off his mask and confirmed that he was a sought-after suspect. The officials asked for ID, and he produced a fake New Jersey driver's license with the name Mark Rosario from an apparently non-existent address in Maplewood, New Jersey. It turned out to be the same bogus driver's license used by the suspected killer at a New York City hospital. Police said when the Altoona police asked Mangoni if he had been to New York recently, the man quietly started to shake and admitted. The mortally wounded CEO was rushed to Mount Sinai Hospital where he was pronounced dead. And after Monday's arrest, Mayor Eric Adams told reporters that the McDonald's worker did something we ask Americans to do. If you see something, say something, and do something, the mayor said. On Wednesday, Commissioner Tisch said the ghost gun that Mangoni had on him when he was arrested in Altoona was the positive match for the shell casings from the gun found at the Manhattan scene where the United Healthcare CEO was fatally shot. Now, today, word is that Thompson wasn't even a member of United Healthcare, according to the company. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has already convened a grand jury and has begun to present evidence on it. Let's see, the CB 11 Bylaws Committee, they once again voted without any public hearing or gallery session, making both motions null and void. I believe, AJ, that the CB 11 Bylaw Committee did not vote on any thing. All right, just look at the tape and you'll see. Now, as to Daniel Perry, I should say, on Monday morning, a jury found Daniel Perry did not commit criminal negligent homicide when he placed Jordan Neely in a chokehold on an F train in February 2023. Neely was pronounced dead shortly afterwards. The only evidence we saw was the clear and convincing evidence of the pervasive idea of justice held by Alvin Bragg. Councilmember Joe Borelli said in an interview, this is someone who, since day one, has had the public interest in the crosshairs and has done nothing but make the borough of Manhattan less safe. He should resign, he said of Alvin Bragg, DA. Left-leaning organizations like New York Workers' Family Party pronounced the verdict as a travesty of justice and criticized Mayor Eric Adams for not condemning Perry's actions. Last week, the mayor said, though, you have someone on that subway who is responding, doing what we should have done as a city, and he was asked to clarify the comments on Monday. The mayor had muted the view of the case. We should have been standing up for these passengers, he said. Standing up for passengers mean addressing the mental health crisis we have in the city, not waiting till incidents like this happen. The question of whether Perry stood up rightfully or wrongfully, he said, was determined by the jurors. Now, Manhattan Alvin Bragg had this to say. As with every case, we followed the facts and the evidence from the beginning to the end. A grand jury voted to indict, and the office carefully presented this case to a trial jury. Over the course of the trial, we introduced medical records, videos, body cam footage, and testimony from over 30 witnesses, including the city's Office of Chief Medical Examiner. The jury carried deliberations for 4 days. They requested readbacks of testimony and asked for videotape to rewatch, as well as written definitions of the law. Their lengthy deliberations and the totality of the facts and evidence underscored why this case was put on in front of a jury of Mr. Penny's peers. The jury has now spoken at the Manhattan DA's office. We deeply respect the jury's process, and we respect their verdict. Okay, let's move to Governor Kathy Hochul. With less than 2 years before the next gubernatorial election and even less time before the Democratic primary, a new Sierra College poll found that New Yorker voters are itching for a replacement for Governor Kathy Hochul. Only 33% of the registered voters in the state would vote to re-elect Hochul as things stand now, while 57% of the voters say they would vote for someone else. That number includes 65% of independents, a growing voter base in the state, and 54% of self-described moderates. Just 48% of registered Democrats polled said they would vote for her again. Sierra did not offer voters a hypothetical matchup with any potential opponent, but at least two potential governor opponents have already begun testing the waters for a run. Congressman Richie Torres, who would challenge Hochul in a Democratic primary, and Congressman Mike Lawler, who could run as a Republican in the general election in 2026. Both have already aggressively attacked Hochul in recent weeks on a variety of issues. Lawler has focused heavily on Hochul's decision to reinstate congestion pricing at a lower price, while Torres has criticized her governance more generally. According to Siena, the majority of registered voters polled said they were unfamiliar with both candidates or potential candidates, and 64% said they did not know about or had no opinion of Lawler, while 68% said the same about Torres. For those who did have an opinion, 19% viewed Torres favorably compared to 13% who viewed him unfavorably. Lawler's numbers were a little worse at 17% polling him favorably compared to 20% who did not. And as far as Kathy Hochul goes, it seems the firm at the center of a bid rigging claim involved Governor Kathy Hochul's overhaul of a $9 billion home care program, which added staff weeks before the contract was given, records show. Public Partnerships LLC posted a job posting for a manager as early as August, almost 2 months before it was officially awarded the contract to essentially act as a middleman between Medicaid and caregivers, which critics say is proof that it was already a done deal. The mountain of evidence keeps growing at points to a rigged bid for PPL, said Brian O'Malley, executive director of the Alliance to Protect Home Care, an industry group, repping the firms. If Governor Kathy Hochul was sincere about her promise for a new era of transparency, then she would release all the communications with PPL, he said. The company was seeking a so-called director of market implementation to oversee a team of employees to build out the infrastructure needed to take over payroll functions for over 200,000 CDPAP caregivers, according to the job posting, which was obtained by a local newspaper. It speaks to the arrogance a little bit. One source familiar with the bidding process said, "This is the most messed up procurement I've ever seen." The source continued, noting that they've never seen a firm begin hiring for such a contract before it was awarded. The contract was officially awarded on September 30th. We did not hire anybody for the contract in advance of the contract award, a PPL spokesman wrote. We sometimes try to identify candidates for large contracts that we are bidding before we are awarded them. This gives us a pipeline of potential staff in the event we are awarded the contract and enables us to hire more quickly upon the contract award. The spokesman Ford, though, didn't give any examples of other job postings advertised before a contract was awarded. Bombshell reporting by a local paper revealed that 1199 SEIU was working behind the scenes to ensure the winning contractor would agree to let it unionize caregivers and to jointly advocate to raise their wages, meaning hundreds of thousands of new dues-paying members. Sources say PPL was a front runner for the contract before the ink on the state budget deal was even dry. A spokesman for Hochul denied the bid rigging accusations. Let's go into ghost cars before I go to a commercial. Companies are always being accused of fudging numbers, so let's look at how Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul may have fudged some numbers. New York City Mayor Adams and New York Governor Kathy Hochul Wednesday announced New York City Police Department and Sanitation Department have removed more than 73,000 illegal ghost cars that were virtually untraceable by traffic cameras, toll readers, because of their forged or altered license plates, and illegal or unregistered motorized scooters, bikes, and all-terrain vehicles from New York City streets since the start of the Adams administration. Here is what the press release said. Our kids, families, and New Yorkers must feel safe and be safe in our city, but ghost cars continue to the feeling of disorder, and that's why our administration has pumped the brakes on the use of these illegal vehicles, Adams said. While outlaws use fraudulent, defaced, or non-existent license plates and other illegal vehicles to commit and evade accountability for serious crimes, including shootings, robberies, hit and runs, thanks to our partnership across the city and state agency, we have taken more than 73,000 ghost cars off the streets and removed these illegal vehicles since the start of our administration. We are not going to stand by while people break the law, defrauding our city and endangering the public. Ghost plates and toll evading cost state millions every year, which is why we launched the city-state task force to crack down on these offenders and work with the legislature this year to strengthen enforcement actions, said Governor Hochul, working in partnership with Mayor Adams and law enforcement. We are prioritizing the safety of all New Yorkers by removing these vehicles from our streets and ensuring brazen actions do not go unchecked anymore. So how many of the 73,000 really illegal ghost cars were there? It appears that there were only 20,000 cars with 53,000 illegal and unregistered motorized scooters, bikes, and all-terrain vehicles that have been seized since the start of the Adams administration. And I'm going to stop here and go to a commercial and come back with some more news about 12 Albany legislators who are looking to get New York City positions. So let's go to a commercial now.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Okay, welcome back. As state lawmakers head back to Albany for the upcoming season, starting in January, many will have somewhere else to go on their mind. At least 12 state lawmakers are seeking pastures greener than Albany next year. 4 state lawmakers are vying for mayor, 2 city controller, hopefuls, 4 wannabe city council members, and a prospective DNC chair and potential future borough president. Let's go to the DNC chair. That would be Rockland County legislator James Scoffless, who hopes to become the DNC chair. And as far as other things, it's part of the business of politics, and in a way, very much like running for re-election, said State Senator Brad Holman Siegel, who is running to be Manhattan Borough President. Holman Siegel is running for BP after a 7-point loss in 2020 to the current Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine, who is now running for the city controller seat. Queens Assembly member and Mayor Eric Adams' ally, Jennifer Radkumar, and 22-year veteran Brooklyn State Senator Kevin Parker are running for city controller as well. So it's good to have so many people who are interested in these offices, Radkumar said in a statement to Playbook. But if we are going to be successful as Democrats, we have to center common sense solutions for working people, not political gamesmanship that gets us nowhere, she said. State Senator Selma Myrie, Jessica Ramos, and Assembly member Zoran Maramdi have their sights set on running City Hall. State Senator Sean Ryan also wants to be a mayor, but of Buffalo. I've always believed the best way to campaign is to be the best at your job, Ramos told Politico in a statement. I've been honored to go 2 cycles without a challenger. It's a strategy that has worked for me. As far as it goes, I'm sticking to it. Meanwhile, Assembly members Harvey Epstein and Eddie Gibbs and State Senator Simcha Felder all have their eyes on city council seats. Bronx Assemblyman John Sicaro Jr. was quoted by Politico as saying at Somos that he was running for a city council seat, but last night at Councilman Rafael Salamanca's Bronx Borough President event, Sicaro told me that he was misquoted by Politico saying he was thinking about a council run And it appears now, with 3 people throwing their hats into the Democratic primary, Zucchero may not run and may stay in Albany. Other Albany members who may be leaving, Helen Weinstein is leaving. She's saying goodbye after 44 years in office. And it appears that disgraced ex-lawmaker Anthony Weiner has popped back into the political spotlight by formally filing for the New York City Council in soon-to-be vacant District 2 seat. He is the 6th person to do so and file with the Campaign Finance Board. And I forgot that Daniel O'Donnell, who was the first out gay man to serve in the Assembly after he was elected in 2022 to represent a part of Manhattan, is also leaving. Now, as far as Albany goes, the Assembly calendar, well, the State Assembly calendar is up online for the new session, which begins on Wednesday, January 8th, for one day that week. There are a total of 7 workdays in the month of January, 9 workdays in the month of February, 15 workdays in the month of March because the state budget is due on April 1st. In April, there are 9 workdays to finish up any last-minute budget deals. There are 15 workdays in May to finish up any other items, and 7 days in June, with June 12th as the last official workday on the calendar of 62 scheduled workdays. Then it's off till the new year, or unless a special session is called, which is rare. The last special session of both the Assembly and State Senate was December 22nd, 2022, to give the new legislature session a pay raise of $20,000 for Assembly members and $32,000 for state senators. Had it not been done before the end of the year, they would have to wait 2 more years because they cannot vote themselves raises. There was a mayoral forum on housing with tenants, lots of tenants looking on. 7 candidates in the ever-expanding New York City mayoral race were present to commit to a rent freeze by rent-stabilized apartments at a housing-centered forum. The 3 explicitly promised that they would freeze rents. Assembly members Zoran Maremdi, State Senator Jessica Ramos, and former Assembly member Michael Blake. All 3 said they would go for rent freeze. Other candidates were New York City Controller Brad Lander, former City Controller Scott Stringer, State Senator Zelma Myrie, and Attorney Jim Walden. Mayor Eric Adams has yet to appear at any forums. Myrie was the first challenger to release a detailed housing plan, seeking to position himself as the most pro-housing candidate in the 2025 mayoral race, building 700,000 new units of housing and preserving 300,000 over the next decade using rezoning, code reforms, incentive programs, direct tenant and homeowner protections. But that plan didn't commit to freezing rents for tenants in rent-stabilized apartments, a fact some left-leaning advocates quickly criticized him after it was released. On to CFB campaign financing. New documents showed Adams' 2025 campaign keeps arousing suspicion about fundraising for his re-election campaign as the Campaign Finance Board decides whether he is eligible to receive public matching funds, a decision that is expected to come Monday. The CFB's latest review of campaign work obtained by Politico Monday via Freedom of Information Law request shows the board flagged 3 groups of donations suspected of being bundled by a third party or intermediary. One clump came from people employed by T&M USA, which now Fire Commissioner Robert Tucker was still leading that firm at the time when the donations were made, weeks before Adams tapped him as the head of the fire department. The 2 other donations came from members of the NYPD, and the Campaign Finance Board requires campaigns to disclose any outside parties helping to raise funds. This has been a perennial problem for Team Adams. The Campaign Finance Board draft audit of the 2021 campaign indicates Adams' team did not provide proof for more than 150 fundraisers. The CFB has other irregularities with the re-election efforts. Fundraising, federal prosecutors have accused Adams of knowingly accepting straw donors as part of the bribery scheme involving the Turkish government. The incident, which is set to go, which Adams is set to go on trial in April, he has pleaded not guilty to. Taken together, questions swirling around the mayor's 2025 campaign could lead to the board denying him matching funds. That may be why Adams is hedging his bet. As Politico reported, Adams attended a fundraiser in Puerto Rico Tuesday night, co-hosted by cryptocurrency mogul Brock Pierce. An invitation for the invite asked guests to donate a maximum of $3,700 to the mayor's reelection bid, a sum allowed if he does not participate in the matching funds program. And let's look at candidate Brad Lander. It appears that Brad Lander's mayoral campaign missed a critical deadline to receive several millions dollars in public matching funds next week for his mayoral bid. Politico reports it's a surprising and embarrassing error for the city's chief financial officer, and it comes as the mayoral race watchers are waiting for word from the New York City Campaign Finance Board on whether to grant Mayor Adams matching funds given his federal indictment that I have just said about his straw donor scheme. Lander's campaign said the issue was just missing paperwork and waved away any suspicion that the mishap reflects a hesitation in taking on Adams and a band of fellow lefty Democrats in next June's primary. In fact, Lander is announcing that he is hiring Allison Hirsch as campaign manager. Hirsch is the chief strategy officer in the controller's office and will be leaving her government job on December 31st. A former labor union operative, Hirsch worked at City Hall under Mayor Bill de Blasio and was a senior advisor to Myra Wiley's mayoral campaign in 2021. Lander won't get the nearly $3.5 million in public matching funds he's eligible for when the board announces its determinations on Monday. His team missed the November 22nd deadline on the certified statement of needs, according to the letter from the CFB senior advisor Mark Griffin, the Lander campaign shared with Politico. That's an unfortunate twist, but recoverable. Lander will be eligible for the matching funds payment at the board's January 15th meeting, at which point he expects to be approved. Now, where did we hear that before? Was it Mayor Adams? Well, it appears that Mayor Adams is convening another charter revision commission to build on recent zoning reforms accomplished in the City of Yes for Housing agenda, sources with knowledge told City and State. The commission could set up another conflict with the City Council as members of the City Council prepare to roll out their own charter revision commission next year. The mayor's office didn't comment on plans for the commission. Back in October, Politico reported in New York that Hazel Dukes, a member of New York City's first Mayor Adams' first charter revision commission, discussed about mounting another commission. Charter revision commissions are temporary panels convened by mayors or the City Council tasked with updating city governing documents. Commissions hear from the public before crafting ballot proposals to pitch amendments to voters. This would be the second time the mayor has convened a charter revision commission in his first term. The first commission convened in May of this year came up with 5 ballot proposals considering issues from the scope of sanitation department authority to calculating the cost of proposed city council laws. Despite a campaign for the city council to defeat them, voters okayed 4 of the 5 proposals. The summertime panel was widely seen as successful strategy to preemptively block a city council initiative to expand their authority over mayoral appointments. Adams has denied that this was his intentions. Now, Mayor Adams met yesterday with the new incoming board czar, Tom Holman, and he announced a set of proposals to protect longtime New Yorkers, immigrants, and asylum seekers from violent repeat offenders, proceed in a productive initial conversation with the incoming czar. The proposals include continuing to advocate for bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform, a national resettlement strategy, work authorization, and legal pathways for asylum seekers already in the cities, funding municipalities, and securing the border. Exploring lawful process to remove from New York City individuals who have been convicted of major felony and lack legal status to remain in the United States, encouraging immigrant New Yorkers to come forward if they have been a victim of a crime or witness a crime without fear of deportation, establishing a safe communities working group, and launching an awareness campaign to combat misinformation and to encourage immigrants and asylum seekers to continue to feel safe, engaging with the essential city services, including public schools, hospital systems, and public safety agencies. In addition, the mayor is also proposing a border resettlement state strategy, ongoing advocacy for a national resettlement strategy led by the federal government aimed at aligning asylum seekers with cities and countries across the nation experiencing workforce shortages, including an implementation of policies restrictive entry at the southern border. Funds needed for federal funding, as cities should not be financially responsible for a national issue, as New York City has been. Work authorization, granting new work authorization to immigrants, which provide economic benefits both for individuals, households involved in the broader U.S. economy, and bipartisan agreement for support for a deal that would provide a legislative solution for Dreamers, provide increased border and security members, take meaningful steps to modernize the city immigration system. Now, I am just going to mention a few more items. Eric Adams, it looks like he is looking to change the city's sanctuary city laws by executive office, given the council's opposition. There is ongoing debate among builders and safety experts and first responders about whether New York City is doing enough to reduce the risk of high-rise fire catastrophes as new generations of super tall, super shiny towers remake the city's skyline. The MTA says about 80 New York Long Island Railroad bridges, tunnels, and other structures are at a critical point of deterioration and in need of significant repairs, but it plans only to carry out major fixes to fewer than a dozen of them. And as I mentioned last night, there was a holiday party for Bronx Borough President candidate Raphael Salamanca. It was Salamanca for the Bronx. And on hand, and this will be my last point, were State Senator Louis Sepulveda, Assemblyman John Sicaro, Bronx County Clerk Aisha Bravo, 17th Council candidate Freddie Perez. There was Community Board 11 Chair Cynthia Rodriguez, State Committee Man from the 80th Assembly District, where the event was held, Malcolm Gray, Judge Ahira Gonzalez, many district leaders and state committee members from outside the 80th. And last but not least, we had in attendance the 80th Assembly District female district leader, who was left out originally, but Assemblyman John Sicaro Jr. Thanked her, Christine Culpepper, the 80th Assembly District female district leader. And a surprise guest here at the Salamanca for Bronx Borough President was the Conservative Party candidate for Borough President, Grace Lovick, or Grace Marrero, whatever name she's using. But again, everything was free, so I guess that's why Grace showed up. It was a free event. So thank you for watching the show tonight or today, whenever you watch it. And I hope to see you next week here on Talking Politics. Thank you.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.